morning, everybody. What's going on? Welcome back to Movie Mornings. I am your host, Don Martino, and we are back after a very, very long hiatus to bring you guys some reviews. We're going to go over the new format of the show that Jose and I have come up with that we think is much more viable and much easier to kind of maintain. It's all about maintenance and just consistency, and 2024 is going to be strong for us. But as I said, I'm your host, Don Martino. If you haven't done so already, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave some feedback in the comment section, share this with your friends, hit the bell for notifications. And I'm not here alone, as I had already mentioned. We have Jose, my boy.
What's
Now
up,
we
Dom?
can
Honestly,
see you, my boy. Now
glad to
I
be back.
can hear
Honestly,
you, my boy. Ahoy.
good.
No, go ahead. I'm
It's
sorry.
good. It's honestly,
Sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, it's good to be back. Honestly, as Dom said, after this long hiatus, honestly, I'm just glad to be back here with Dom and doing this again. Like you said, this new format that we have for you guys, I
Yeah,
believe, will be a lot easier and better for this channel. I
a-
think you guys will enjoy it a lot as well. And yeah,
absolutely.
honestly, just super excited to be back. As you guys can see, with some new and improved setup. I got a new microphone. I sound 10 times better, if not maybe 20 times better than I did before.
New
I
and
also
improved
look
indeed.
a lot better than I used to. I'm a lot crisper now. Um, Obviously, as you guys can see, I got some stuff in my background.
Yeah.
Did some upgrades on that. Finally have an audio mixer, which is
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, just the stuff that I do for this channel, to improve on every end.
Yeah, much better look, much better setup, hopefully a much better show overall, much better experience for the audience. I'm very excited about this. And we really had a conversation together about really wanting to push the show toward movie reviews and making this the central spot for movie reviews on the channel rather than me going off and doing singular reviews, since Jose sees stuff that I don't see and I see stuff Jose doesn't see sometimes. It's just a lot easier to bring them here and then clip them out for the channel later. That's going to be a much easier, more sustainable model for us, because that way we can get more reviews out, and also we could just do a show weekly. And I also just think it's more fun to review things when you have your buddy, right beside you,
For sure.
as opposed to me sitting there going, oh God, I got to talk to a camera. I know I'm talking to an audience, but it really just never feels that way. Like, it doesn't matter how many times you do it over and over. I know some people have a different habit of it and they can just do it on their own. And I still will do shows on my own, but there'll be shows where I have a lot of topics to talk about, and I'm giving thoughts on things that I'm excited to talk about. I'll still do those on my own if Jose is not available. But I'll also be getting reviews out at the same time as doing those. And something else I want to bring to the channel, I want to start doing some more, weekend, nightly, after dark type streams as well. Maybe it'll just be me and Jose bullshitting on those, over the weekends, or, having some drinks like we do, and just hanging out and talking, shooting the shit. Or it could be just me playing some video games over the weekend, something. Those are things I would like to
Honestly,
do for sure.
I will play some video games with you, bro. I'm down.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I want to bring more after dark content to the channel as well,
Honestly, that's when most people are active anyway, so
yeah, and make this the main show for the morning time. But yeah, after dark stuff is another focus that we're definitely going to do down the road. But as we were saying on the phone earlier, I do feel like 2024 is our year. I think that we are going to hit big this year. And starting out in January, we got some great reviews for you. We're going to talk about Echo and the Beekeeper, which Jose saw the Beekeeper. I did not. I saw Echo. Jose's seen part of Echo. So we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. And let's just start and get right into it with Echo, because this is the thing I saw. And for those of you who don't know, this is the first thing coming out of Marvel's Spotlight division, which is fascinating to me, because this is supposed to be a division that they opened up specifically for content that you don't have to have a prerequisite for. In other words, you don't have to have seen everything else to have enjoyed their Spotlight content. So this is the first thing that they're putting out in that division.
really the only thing you would have to see is probably Hawkeye.
You don't even have to see that, though. That's why I liked about this, which I'll get into in a second.
True.
I'll tell you why. Even though it takes place in the MCU, it takes place in the same universe and everything. What I think this did a really good job at, it's in the first 10 minutes. It sets up Hawkeye. You'll be
True.
rewarded if you've seen Hawkeye, but you don't necessarily have to have seen Hawkeye. So for those of you
That is true.
who are like,
I guess you get enough. You get enough from Echo in the show of Echo from
right.
Hawkeye that you don't really have to watch. Yeah.
And for those of you who are like, I want to watch MCU stuff, I am not caught up on everything else, the Spotlight stuff is going to be for you. And so I was fascinated by this move when they talked about Spotlight. And for those of you who don't know, so it is spun off of Hawkeye. The character of Maya is from Hawkeye, and she is pretty much dealing with the aftermath of shooting her uncle in the eyeball. That is basically the plot of this show. Kingpin is a very popular character from Daredevil and the comics, obviously, and everything. But mainly this version of Kingpin, Vincent D'Onofrio, is popular from Daredevil, and he plays Maya's uncle. And in Hawkeye, she shot him in the eyeball right at the end of the series, and we're dealing with the aftermath of that. How does Maya deal with that? And the first thing I want to say right out the bat, so I already kind of complimented the fact that they set this up in a way where you did not have to have seen, you wouldn't have had to have seen Hawkeye to understand what's going on. They recapped that very well. They kind of re-edit it and reframe it from Maya's perspective. So part A, they did that extremely well in this show. The other thing I want to compliment is I believe the pronunciation's Lakewood Cox, so I apologize if I'm butchering that. I think that her performance was great. She led a show much better than I would have thought she would have after seeing Hawkeye, because after seeing Hawkeye, when this Echo series got announced, I was like, I have no interest in this when it got announced. The trailer got me kind of hyped because the trailer looked cool. And this is also, we should mention, the first TVMA rated MCU show as well, which doesn't deliver on that promise. Let's get right into that. So I like this thing. I'm going to tell you right now, right off the bat, I enjoyed Echo. I might be in the minority, and that's okay. I think a lot of people were expecting something more akin to Daredevil, and I can't really blame anybody for that based on the marketing. But what I will tell you, Jose, is that this show, it delivers something I think a lot more beautiful than I was expecting by the end of it because of the direction it takes. And I'll tell you, I was getting kind of worried in episode 2. I think episode 2 has the most amount of pacing problems, and the other thing I would also mention about this show is that right around episode 2, there's a new character called Biscuits. I did not like this character at all. I think
Oh yeah,
that I found him annoying.
he was kind of first put in at season 1. I remember.
Season 1.
Episode 1 he was in.
Oh,
This
episode
there
1.
was a guy
I'm
called
sorry. Yeah, yeah. So
yeah
episode
yeah
1, he is put in. He's introduced, and there's a character called Biscuits I'm sorry. I should have said he's more prominent in episode 2. And that's when he started to annoy me a lot more because he just, I don't know. This guy is just not for me. That's the best way I could say it. But how I will say, one of the things that I like about that character being in the show, even though he wasn't for me, he annoyed me, is I think that a lot of people are going to relate to that character. I think there are people like that character that are going to relate to that character. And that's all I'll say. And I don't mean that as an insult to anybody. I just think that a lot of people will relate to that character. It just wasn't for me, that character. I think that they tried to play him as a comedic relief. Another thing that was in the marketing was that this show was supposed to be more grounded, more real, more gritty. And in a lot of ways, it definitely is. I think that the mindset of all of us, especially the ones that didn't like Hawkeye, I liked Hawkeye, by the way, but I think for the
same.
people that didn't like Hawkeye, they're like, we don't want any tracksuit mafia type stuff, no corny stuff. They're in there. There's still these corny villains that are side heroes. However, I will say it's much more anchored by Kingpin here than it was in Hawkeye. So it kind of balances itself out. I do think that there are some really great character actors in here that play villain roles that do kind of anchor the sort of corniness of some of the other side villains. So I enjoyed that quite a bit. By episode 3, though, I was just out the edge of my seat and in suspense. I think that there are some things that they still do past episode 3 that are still just a little goofy, but I was able to get past most of it because I was just invested in this uncle and niece storyline for the most part. And also, I did love learning about Maya's background. I love learning about the Choctaw culture. I thought that was integrated very well into the show. I'm hearing a lot of criticisms from people saying it wasn't. I don't know. I'm saying this as a straight white male. I thought that it worked extremely well for everything they did. So I genuinely enjoyed that element of it personally. I found a lot of enjoyment in this. Even in the beginning of episode 2, there's a scene where we're just sitting with the Choctaw culture, and they just opened it up to the IMAX ratio just to show us that a little bit better. And I thought that stuff played extremely well. I enjoyed a lot of the creative choices too. There were moments where they played like a silent film in here, which I thought was just a super dope creative choice. I thought the thing was shot very well. It does deliver on a lot of the violence, but I think that the problem a lot of people are going to have, not me necessarily, is it tends to move past that grounded, gritty violence, and it kind of goes into a more character driven story without the violence. So I think a lot of people will have issue with that. Myself personally, I enjoyed what we got out of it. I will say you could tell it's chopped down a bit, it's condensed, but not nearly as much as, say, something like the Marvels was. Like, you don't notice it as much as that. It doesn't feel as bumpy of a ride as something like that, or even Ant-Man for that matter. I think that this movie definitely, or this TV series, was definitely worth excuse me, having it in a binge, because I was able to really appreciate the entire vision at once. And I think that a lot of people need to watch it in a binge, not complain about the fact it was in a binge at this particular case, even though I do prefer the week to week in any other case. I could see why they threw this out in a binge. A lot of people were speculating it's because Marvel didn't have faith in it or whatever, and that might be true. So I might be in a minority here when I say that I actually got a lot of enjoyment out of this, even though I did see some very clear flaws throughout it. Wasn't as great as, say, Loki season 2, but I do think it is a good start for Marvel, for myself anyway. I think that this is a good start to the year for the MCU for myself. I'm very excited to see what's next, which will be Deadpool 3. The last thing I will mention
Mhm.
is Daredevil, because we all know he's going to be in the show. That's not a spoiler. That was in the trailer. This is an example of, I gotta say, bad fan service in this show. I did not like the Daredevil cameo in this thing. I thought this is a pure example. Like, I was talking to some friends when Ahsoka was out, right? And I said Anakin was fan service. It was good fan service though, because it served the story of Ahsoka and drove that character forward. I was telling some friends that when that show was on, and they were like, "What's bad fan service?" This is bad fan service. I did not like the Daredevil cameo. It could have been anybody in that role. Maya could have fought anybody in that moment, because it didn't need to be Daredevil. The fact that Daredevil was there was, to me, bad fan service. He was just there to be there. Not that I minded the fight scene with Daredevil, by the way, and you guys will know what I'm
Ooh,
talking about. It was a great fight scene. I just think
for
it could
sure.
have been any character. It didn't need to be Daredevil. It didn't have any
Mm,
bearing on the story overall by the end of
That's
it. So
fair.
that's where I was
That's
at.
fair.
So that, to me, that's an example of bad fan service. However, once I got past all that, because again, I was into the fight itself, I thought the choreography was really well done. I think both of these, Charlie Cox and Alec Cox, worked very hard to get the fight choreography down, and I thought it looked great.
Facts.
I do see a lot of comparisons to Daredevil's choreography, and people saying it's not as good. I think it's pretty good. It's just doesn't look exactly the same as something we would have gotten in Daredevil. So I think I wish people would give it a break a little bit. But overall, guys, I found Echo to be an enjoyable binge. I do hope you guys go check it out. And I know, Jose, you got like an episode into it, right? So I mean, what were your thoughts
Yeah, I
so
got
far?
so I've finished. Yeah, I got to finish episode one in between my classes today. Because I totally forgot that it came out yesterday.
Yeah,
Sorry. But when I was scrolling through YouTube on my computer, I saw that a couple of YouTube channels had already put like at least the first two episodes, their like breakdowns and stuff in the reviews. So I was like, oh crap, I totally forgot this was out. So I went and watched the first episode in between classes. And honestly, what I saw in the first episode so far has really excited me for the rest of the show. Um, some of my gripes, I mean, one is that it's 5 episodes and not six, like normal seasons of Marvel shows.
yeah.
Um,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
but I mean, that's just a little gripe. Um, another one like you said. I mean, I prefer the weekly, but I mean, I'd have to see. I'd have to binge this and see how I feel. I just like the weekly more because it gives me more time to like rewatch that one episode
Yeah,
and talk about it in detail. Um, but no, like I said, I mean, from the first episode already, I'm loving it, and I can't wait to see what 2, 3, 4, and 5 bring.
yeah,
Um, like you said, I agree with what you said about the whole, Daredevil fighting Maya. Could have been anyone, and it probably would have been as cool. But I mean, props to both of them for getting this choreography out because this fight scene was
yeah.
honestly
It
amazing.
was a
I
very good
loved
fight.
the fight scene from beginning to end. It was amazing choreography, and yeah, I just enjoyed it a lot. I can't
Yeah.
wait to see what
And
else it brings.
honestly, as I said, I agree with you in any other context of these shows. I do prefer the week to week genuinely or generally, but in this in particular case, the binge just worked for me. I do see why they put it out the way they did. And I do implore people that are expecting another Daredevil, don't. This is just a far more beautiful story, I think, by the end of it, than something very emotionally told that I thought paid off without giving anything away there. And also, the last thing I will say, it's so weird to me. We get these more mature shows, like you look at Andor and this, and for some reason, because they're more mature, suddenly they're a little bit more visually stunning too than the other kids
True.
shows, and I don't know why that has to equal out to visually better. I
Yeah,
don't know why kids
it's
shows can't be the family fare can't be more. I shouldn't say kids shows as much as the family fare can't be a
yeah,
little bit
right, yeah.
more visually good. Like that's weird to me. Like with the exception of I would say
Or even
Ahsoka.
as like
Yeah.
yeah, true. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I don't know why they can't be as visually good as, TVMA shows.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, because I was watching the beginning of this, like this opens up, you'll know what I'm talking about in like a more fantastical sequence, and I'm like, geez,
Oh
right off the
my
bat,
goodness.
it's
I was gonna
visually
say right
better
off
than
the
most of the stuff on Disney Plus right off the bat.
right
So
right off the bat, it had me like in. Like I was just
yeah,
like the bait was out and it hooked me in straight off the bat. It was just
yeah,
so cinematically beautiful. It
yeah,
was the visuals were just honestly, like you said, one of the best things that is on Disney Plus at the moment. Honestly,
yeah.
it's just
Excellent
so
in that
beautiful,
regard. Excellent in that regard, honestly, and shot very well. Again,
and
the entire show is shot very well.
a lot of those like silent scenes, man, just really get me too, because it just brings me. It reminds me almost of like A Quiet Place in a
Yeah,
sense, with like the deaf girl in that movie. It just kind of brings me to that and how like beautiful those silent scenes are, man. They're just like, man,
yeah.
there's silence really like hits different in shows and movies, honestly.
Yeah, the silence scenes were very good. I was very impressed with the sound design and sound mixing. We're
Honestly,
seeing
same.
that used more and more, I think, like a la Quiet Place or Sound of Metal, like I think really started the trend of using this sort of silence. Like it's silent, but there's still sound there to make it sound silent. It's
Hmm.
a weird thing that it's like you set it at a certain frequency so you can like hear silence. It's insane. And I think that this show used it quite a bit in the best regard because again we have a main character. Alec Cox herself is deaf, and
Deaf herself, yeah.
yeah, so deaf and mute, right? So I think that makes a lot of sense in the
and
way
and the
that they
fact
use
and the
it.
fact that like most, if not all, the cast, put it upon themselves to learn ASL for her is
Yeah,
just incredible as well. I mean,
fantastic. Yeah.
that takes extra time out of their day to learn that, and the fact that they decided to do that just makes it even better,
And you could
honestly.
really see in the show why they had to do that in a way. Like
Oh,
they let it serve the story, which I really enjoyed. But
on
I
top of the fact that she is you know deaf herself, they wanted to learn it for her so they could communicate with her as well. But also, like you said too, it serves a purpose for the story, which I will find out eventually. But yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I don't want to spend too much more time on this, but guys, Echo I thought was enjoyable. I'm still gonna go with a might watch, but it's on the higher end of that, like the highest end of a might watch for me. That's the rating I'm gonna go with here. And I hope that you guys do binge it. Let us know what you think. And it's not gonna be for everybody, and that's fine. It just happened to speak to me and work for me for what it was. I enjoyed watching it. I thought it was a really fun binge. So, especially on a weekday, I thought that was a really nice thing to get. And I think it's a good start for the MCU for myself. Like, I'm excited to see what's next now, even though I was very nervous because a lot of things that were coming. So, might watch for me. I hope you guys check out Echo. We'll circle back around to Jose when he sees the rest of it. We'll do that on a different podcast. But yeah, for sure. So, yeah, Jose is going to talk about the Beekeeper here. Jose, I'm going to let you take it away. I did not get to see this film, but what did you think of this?
All right, so I was lucky enough to watch an early access screening this past Saturday. AMC was having one. And I just want to say, first of all, that Jason Statham did his thing on this movie. I mean, I really don't think there's a single Jason Statham movie that I've seen that I don't like. Um, his choreograph, like his fights in his movies, are just insane, and this one, you know, is even better. Honestly, like
Right.
I loved all the fight scenes in this movie were amazing. It was gory as can be, so viewer discretion. Um, they did not hold back on it. Tell you that much. I thought it was a great movie, honestly. All the actors did their things in their respective roles. Uh, Josh Hutcherson was a funny character in this one as well, which I actually didn't know at first that he was in this until I literally saw him in the movie.
Hutcherson's in
Um,
this? I didn't realize it either, I suppose, that Hutcherson was in it.
yeah, Josh Hutcherson is in this, and he plays a pretty funny uh, character, I will say.
Good deal.
Um, what
Love
else can
that
I
dude.
say?
Well, I mean, I was gonna say too. I mean, this is the interesting thing about Beekeepers. It's director David Ayer, who hasn't had the best run lately. I don't know how people are receiving this. I mean, you're just telling me your thoughts right now, but like, I could at least say
Yeah.
like I was interested because like this was the first movie in a bit from David Ayer that like actually looked very good to me. Like he did the first Suicide Squad movie. We all know how that went. But before that, man, I mean, we're talking the guy had like End of Watch and Fury, which were both phenomenal films, and I was hoping to see him kind of get, you know, go to a return to form there. I mean, do you think that
Right.
this is more? Are we
No,
looking
he
at something more End of Watch and Fury, or are we looking at something more like Tax
no,
Collector and Suicide Squad?
this is definitely more End of Watch and Fury. I'm
Okay,
telling you right now. I mean, I just looked at the Rotten Tomato score. There's no audience score, obviously, because this technically hasn't come out yet. It comes
right,
out
right.
in 2 days, but the critics have given it a 73,
Oh, awesome, awesome.
which
I'm happy for him. I'm glad
which
that
is
he's getting back
which
to
is
it. Yeah.
awesome. No, yeah, I won't lie to you. This movie, I'm gonna go watch it again. I'm
Okay.
just letting you know now
Cool.
because that's how much I'm gonna get. If there's a steelbook for this movie, I'm getting it. I'm telling you right now because this movie was just that good that I
Yeah.
want the DVD for this
Yeah.
because I just had so much fun with the movie. Again, like I said, Jason Statham's like one of my favorite actors going right now. Um, I, I know that when I go into a Jason Statham movie, there's gonna be some kind of like fights and action and gore, and I just love it. Um, I was really hyped for this movie when the trailer dropped. Although I was really confused about the title at first until I saw the trailer, and I was like, "Oh, okay, this makes sense."
Right.
um,
Right.
and yeah, you'll learn more about it obviously when you watch the movie about what that all stands for and all that. But yeah, no, I would definitely give if you want me to give the rating now, or if you got other questions
Well,
or
no, I
anything.
mean, I was just gonna ask too. I mean, the only other thing I was wondering is like the in terms of the action shots. I mean, are we looking at more? I know you said the choreography was great, but are we looking at more like steady cam action, or is it more like is it a bit more choppy and shaky? I mean, that was my only curiosity as an action
No,
junkie.
this is definitely more steady cam for sure.
Awesome, I love that.
So
I love to hear that.
you actually get to see the fights like
Yeah, that's what I want.
in the
Yeah,
best way
that's what I'm
possible.
looking for
Yeah, well,
sure.
there might be, if I remember correctly, there might be some shaky here and there, but like you probably would barely, because I barely noticed if there
Hmm.
was any. Because I'm telling you, for the most part, it's all steady cam fighting, which
Okay.
is absolutely what I loved from
Yeah,
this movie
bring
and
it
what I
on,
absolutely
man.
love seeing when it comes. Exactly.
As an action
It's what
junkie,
I
yeah.
exactly in action fight scenes that are
Yeah.
gory. I'm expecting steady cam, and this just delivered on that. Honestly, it
Yeah,
was
for
amazing.
sure. Yeah, no, man, but yeah, sorry, you can take it away with your grade on this one. I mean, yeah, go ahead. I think you
Okay,
know what you're
well,
going with,
I
but yeah.
mean, yeah, as I say, I would definitely give this a must watch. If you're a fan of Jason Statham, give it a watch. If you like action, gory fighting movies, give it a watch. Again, like I said, this is a rated R, so viewer discretion is advised because it is very
Yeah.
gory and intense. So go in at your own risk.
Yeah.
But I would definitely highly like this is high on my must watch. I mean, I'm gonna go watch it again because it was just that good to me.
I'm for sure I'm pretty stoked now. I'm not gonna lie. I love to hear that the Steadicam is in there, and yeah, I'm gonna check
For
this
sure.
out probably off your recommendation here. And I'm so stoked to do it, man, because I've been on like an action kick lately. Like I went back and watched the first two Lethal Weapons like over the holiday time,
Nice.
and I love those movies so much, man. Like I forgot how good I think Lethal Weapon 2 is the superior movie of the two. I know that's like it might be a crazy statement to some people, but Lethal Weapon 2, man, is just so awesome. The dynamic that they set up with Danny Glover and Mel Gibson and Joe Pesci to me is like that makes Lethal Weapon 2 so good. And I also just think the stakes are so much higher. I know that Beekeeper is not a buddy cop movie per se, so I know it's a weird segue, but like just speaking of Lethal Weapon, like I love buddy cop movies where like they do a series of them. Like 21 Jump Street's a good example. Like in 21 Jump Street, like we're watching the dynamic come together, and I love like in the sequel 22 Jump Street, the groundwork's already done by the first one, and then the second one is just like we know these characters, they're so much more comfortable in these roles.
Hmm.
That's the same thing with like the Lethal Weapon ones, man. And to me, that I love like action movies like that, like or action series like that, where the sequel just is like the first movie did the groundwork, it did all the setup, and now in part two, balls to the wall, right? Because we have that. Like so, like if they made a Beekeeper part two, I don't know if Statham
Oh,
dies or not,
honestly,
but like if they did, I'm
I
just
am
gonna say,
I'm honestly I am here for it because I'm not gonna lie to you. And the fact that Jason Statham produced this movie, you already knew that he like was all in for this
yeah,
movie
yeah.
because
I liked hearing
uh,
that he had his hands in on as a producer on this too. That
mhm,
was one thing that instilled some confidence. The only reason I was nervous, I mean, obviously, one, it was David Ayer, and he's had a recent series of flops, and then the second thing was it's a January film, and it kind of came out of the blue. Those are the only two things that worried me.
hey,
But
but
the
look for a
trailers have
Janu
been
for a
great.
for a January film is doing pretty good. I'll tell you
Yeah.
that right now.
Yeah, the trailers have been great. So I've definitely been interested in checking this one out. I will upon
Yeah,
release,
no,
obviously. I didn't get the early screener, but yeah, man, I'll
and I
check it
will
out.
tell you right now that I would love to see Beekeeper 2. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Me too, man.
It'd be sick. It
I
would
mean,
be
I haven't
so
seen this
sick to
first one,
see.
but like I love when an action movie does well enough it warrants a sequel and a sequel that people are interested in. So to me it's like if this can do
I'm
that, man,
telling you that
that would be great.
I'm here for the like I'm telling you right now as someone who's seen it, I'm here for a sequel. I'll
What
let you know that right
well,
now,
what's
and
great
I
about
feel
it
like you would too.
yeah, for sure, but what's great about that too is if they end up doing a sequel, like I don't feel like we've had a good like real action series in a long time, like a good one. Like
True.
there are movies that I would love to have seen had sequels, but just didn't warrant it or do well enough at the box office. Like I thought Gentleman was a very good example of a movie. I would
Ooh,
love
Gentleman was a
to
yeah,
have seen a
that
sequel
was a
to
good
that
one.
one because I thought that movie was just insanely great. It was a great action film. I thought Guy Ritchie kind of had a series of these great action movies. I mean, he even did with speaking of Statham, like Wrath of Man, that never got a sequel. And again,
Oh, Wrath the Man was so good.
I don't think the box office ever warranted it, and I think that was the issue.
I
So
really hope this one does because
right,
it definitely needs a sequel, man. I'm
yeah,
telling you.
and I love Statham best, obviously, when the director like just sits there with the camera and just lets him do his thing. You know what I mean? And this is the type of thing
And
I'm
that he let him do his thing on
right.
this one. I'm telling you right now.
That's what I'm
Because one
looking
thing,
for.
what's crazy is one thing I didn't know is that Jason Statham knows all these like fighting styles. Like he knows like
Oh my gosh,
jujitsu and
yeah,
like martial art and all that stuff. Like it's and the fact that he can still do that stuff at the age that he's at in right now
oh for
is
sure,
crazy.
yeah,
Yeah,
for
no,
sure,
he's a talent. He's a talented guy.
yeah. And one of the exciting things here that this wasn't like a news topic that I was bringing up, but like Nobody 2 is coming out. That's exciting to me because there's another great action series that we could have because the
Ooh,
first Nobody,
yeah.
incredible. That's one of those movies that has like so many great steady cam shots and it just was
Oh, for
so
sure.
amazing. And so I'm looking forward to like a Nobody 2 as well. So that's going to be really fantastic. Speaking of movies that I'm looking forward to though, I mean, let's get into this topic here because this story really excites me. I think I actually called you with this rumor forever ago, and
I think you did.
now
Yeah,
it's
you did.
official. and I can't wait to get your fresh thoughts on this. Jose and I have a rule now. We're not going to tell each other's real thoughts on things until we,
Until
get
this, yeah.
here, because
So we
we
have more
want.
genuine reactions.
Yeah, exactly. I love when I'm watching shows and they have genuine reactions off each other. So like that's kind of what I want to do here with this. I think it'll feel a little bit better for the audience too. But let's get into this first story here. Look at this. All right, so Paul Thomas Anderson and Warner Brothers set Leonardo DiCaprio, Sean Penn, Regina Hall in film to shoot this year. Look at this exclusive. This is coming from Deadline. Warner Brothers has Paul Thomas Anderson set to direct Oscar winners Leonardo DiCaprio and Sean Penn, as well as Regina Hall, in an untitled film, no title yet, that will begin production this year in California. Anderson wrote the script, and he will produce the film with Sarah Murphy and Adam Sumner. The film is currently untitled, and they're keeping the logline under wraps. We have learned that it is a contemporary setting and is the most commercial one PTA, Paul Thomas Anderson, that being, has attempted with commensurate a commensurate budget. It came
Wow.
out of a relationship that Warner Brothers Pictures Group co-chairs CEOs Michael DeLuca and Pam Abdi built, making Paul Thomas Anderson's last film, Licorice Pizza, while
Mm.
they ran MGM. That film got 3 Oscar nominations for Best Picture
Yep.
and Best Screenplay
The
and Best
screenplay
Director for
and
Paul
best.
Thomas Anderson.
Wow.
So that's the story we're looking at right now. First thing that comes to mind, Jose. I mean, what are you thinking here?
Well, I mean, I'm excited. Obviously, I mean, DiCaprio is one of those guys that I just love watching.
Yeah,
In almost every movie he's in. I mean, was it Revenant was one? Uh, Great Gatsby, Titanic. I mean, the list goes on and on.
yeah, one of the
Um,
best of all time, easily.
oh yeah, and seeing that Sean Penn and Regina Hall, I mean, this is and that Paul Thomas Anderson's gonna direct. You
Yeah,
already know us here. We're big PTA fans.
yeah.
We went on a binge of PTA films and
I still want
watched.
to
I
continue
think
that, by the way. I don't want to end that.
I was about to say
That needs to continue. Yeah, we'll
we
get back to it.
I think we still have like what
We
three
have
of
like
his films I
4, I
think
think.
left.
Yeah, 4, if I'm not
4.
mistaken.
But I mean, man, I'm a huge, especially after watching his other films, I'm a huge PTA fan, and I just honestly can't wait to see what the title is of this movie, what it's going to be about,
Yeah,
and when it's going to be released. Because I'm not glad I'm already ready. I'm already ready for this film to come out. Because with Paul Thomas Anderson directing and Leonardo DiCaprio starring, I mean, what more could you like? That's a duo right there that I've been wanting to see,
well, I
and I
think
can't
what
wait for.
excites me too is, you and I talked about this, I think, when we did Boogie Nights, is the fact that Leo was originally supposed to play the Mark Wahlberg character in Boogie Nights, and
Right,
scheduling, whatever. And I think it's
and
been
now
a
he's finally got
dream
him on a
of Paul
film.
Thomas Anderson's to
Yeah.
get Leo in a film, and here we are. It's finally happening, which is super, super
Yep.
cool. I'm very excited about this story. It gets me very pumped. I can't wait for this to
Same.
actually come to fruition and see what this project is, even without a log line, just these
Hmm.
actors. And you got Sean Penn, who was also in Licorice
Hmm.
Pizza, so they've
Yep.
collaborated before. But I'm very stoked. I loved, by the way, the collaboration of Sean Penn and Paul Thomas Anderson in Licorice Pizza. I thought that
Oh yeah.
character that he built for Sean Penn was out of control in the best way. I do want to see this movie be something a little bit more comedic of Paul Thomas Anderson's, because like I think that, again, with the out of control way that he had Sean Penn in Licorice Pizza, I think that could really play here. I'd like to see more
And
of that type of
DiCaprio
character.
can definitely fit that role as well.
DiCaprio kills it with comedy. I mean, did you see Killers of the Flower Moon?
Yes, I finally got around to watching
Okay,
that.
I've seen half of it. I haven't finished it yet. So
Oh, okay.
while that's not a comedy, Leo plays comedy parts in that movie. Like there are some pretty funny
Right.
things. He's
Yeah.
gotten so good at it that I just want to see this
Oh
be a
yeah.
comedic thing. Something in something more like Boogie Nights or Licorice Pizza, and a little bit less Master and There Will Be
The other
Blood,
thing
which I
that
love those movies, but
that oh, There Will Be Blood is amazing. The other thing that excites me is that it says that it's gonna be a contemporary setting with a commensurate budget. That I mean, just to see what he can come up with that is gonna
yeah.
be really interesting. And I'm
Yeah.
here for it, honestly.
I mean, I'm also just super excited about the fact that, like, it could be a Paul Thomas Anderson financial hit again. Like, Paul Thomas Anderson's one of those guys, like, you look at Licorice Pizza, box office flop, but great movie. I mean, he's one of these guys,
Oh yeah.
he has the skill sets of a Tarantino, but he doesn't have the name that gets the draw the way
Right.
Tarantino does, unfortunately. And I think that having Leo at the forefront of one of his movies will get that draw. It's very
Oh,
possible, as
the
long
amount
as
of people that are
it's
gonna wanna, the amount of people that are gonna wanna go watch it just for DiCaprio alone is already gonna be numbers.
yeah, and as long as it's on this, like, sort of semi-modest budget, I think that that's something that could be
Right.
pulled off here. So, yeah, man, I mean, this is all sounding great. I mean, the talent alone, and let's be honest, I mean, Paul Thomas Anderson gets the talents every time. Like,
Oh yeah.
if he
That's one thing he never struggles on is getting the talent for his
he's
movies.
a great he's great with casting. And if he and people do want to work with him despite the fact, again, that he doesn't draw the best box office dollars. I mean, he does have actors out
It's
there
just
like
because it's
begging
because
him
they
for
just
stuff.
watch his films and they're like, man, this dude just did a phenomenal job in this film. I want to work on one of his
Yeah.
like actors actively want to work with this guy because of how good his films turn, like how amazing his
Well,
films turn out.
and I mean, you look at the talent level of the ensemble in something like Magnolia, I mean, which is
Mm. Shh.
a masterpiece of a movie. Uh,
Oh yeah,
and every role of that, and with a lot of moving parts, and it's just casted so right and so well. I want to see some other players though still pop up in this. I would like to see,
oh no,
uh,
I mean there definitely will be more players
yeah,
popping up
he
into this for
always
sure.
has big ensembles. I would like to see Philip Seymour Hoffman's son come back, and I would like to see the Haim sisters come back for this. Like, I
Oh,
want to
that'd be
see
yep.
him bring the Paul Thomas Anderson family back into this movie. I just think that these are going to be our main hitters.
The licorice pizza family back.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Maybe even we get Julianne Moore in another one, so she's done great in his films. I would love to see that. I think that these are just going to be our main players and kind of the draw to get people into the theater to watch this. Assuming, I think that, yeah, I mean, it's a Warner Brothers movie. I'm assuming it's going to be a theater film, a theatrical release. So, same as Licorice Pizza. So I'm very excited about this. And man, the guy, you can't, you say what you will about Paul, man. He grinds. He just keeps grinding. I think he's
That
one of
is
these
true.
guys just keeps grinding, and his storytelling ability is it's unreal. Like I said, he's got the skill set of a Tarantino. Just unfortunately, the name doesn't draw as much weight
Yeah.
as maybe it used to for him back when he was doing like Boogie Nights and Magnolia and things. For whatever reason,
Part
just
eight.
audiences have changed and box offices have changed and the way people see movies has changed. Like, that's one of the things about the show I was wanting to kind of bring up here is like we're coming into 2024 and a whole new landscape for movies, man. I mean, you look at last year's theatrical disasters. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not talking about the quality of storytelling in any of these movies. Put that aside. I'm talking theatrical disasters because flop after flop after flop after flop. We just kept seeing, with the exception of like Godzilla -1 because it cost 15 million to make, which is insane. But
And well, I mean, I guess Barbie and Mario because those were last year as well.
right, I mean the Barbie Mario Oppenheimer anomalies. I mean, honestly, but that's the other thing that's interesting here is maybe a Paul Thomas Anderson movie could do well right now because people are looking for
Because of the
great
way, yeah.
storytelling. People are
You know what? You
done
know
with
what I've noticed too
mediocrity. Yeah.
is what I've noticed too, especially after working at AMC a lot, is because I get to see a lot of the times because the bar is normally dead, so I get to see like the people that come in to watch the movies. I get to see like what movies they're coming in to watch, and I've noticed that a lot of them, if not most of them, come to see the smaller indie artisan films.
Now
They
it
don't really
is.
come for like those big, you
Yeah.
know, supposed to be big box office films, big
Yeah.
budgeted films. No, they come and see like the smaller budgeted,
Mhm.
tend to be a lot nicer films nowadays. They don't really go for those
Yeah.
big budgeted films now, honestly, because
Yeah,
they just
it's changed. The
yeah, for
age of
sure.
the comic book film, doing incredibly well, it's over. I'm not saying that they won't
Yep.
again. I'm saying right now it's not so much that people are tired of comic book movies, I don't think. I think it's a mediocrity fatigue. I think that they just want great storytelling. That's what I think people are looking for. Which again,
That's why you look at movies like because a lot of the movies that have been watched a lot um in at least in last year, especially towards the later months, a lot of the movies that were watched were like Boys in the Boat,
yeah.
um, Iron Claw, all these like
Right,
true
right.
story. great storytelling movies,
Yeah,
which I enjoyed both of those.
right,
That could be for another discussion, but I mean, I
for sure.
really enjoyed both, like, the stories in those, because I love watching. I think right now I definitely prefer watching those based on a true story movies. Like, I've always liked them, but in recent time, I've liked watching those more often than other films.
Right.
And after watching Iron Claw and The Boys in the Boat, I mean, man, the storytelling in those movies are just they just do it so well,
I
honestly.
100% agree with you. I think that that excites me as a film fan because we're kinda getting back to
Oh,
that time of great storytelling.
I'm studying film.
Right.
That's what excites me as well. Like, give me more of those, please.
Like, without trying to sound, like, too sort of hoity-toity about it, but, like, at the same time, like, when you even think back to, like, the biggest successes of, like, the '70s, which was, like, Jaws and Star Wars, the reason those movies came out is because we were experiencing a similar thing to what we're experiencing now, you know what I mean? Like, where the movie industry was just struggling in terms of, like, they couldn't get their usual blockbusters to hit. We're kind of experiencing that again, and people are just looking
True.
for new storytellers with fresh new takes and something completely new, and I think that's why when you look at
Hmm.
Barbie, while oh gosh, Greta Gerwig is not a new storyteller. She's she's on the come up to a general audience, right? It's just why she's hired to do things like Narnia now because like Barbie
Yeah, I mean,
was
just, and
real
also just
exposure to the
look at the
casual audience.
look
Yeah.
at the look at the casting that she, like, the people that she got to work on that too. I mean, just
Yeah.
so many
Yeah.
great A-listed actors in that too. Just to tell such a unique story.
Yeah.
That was a great story as well.
And you even look at like Oppenheimer, which is, you know, Nolan's
What
figured
a
it out.
story, man.
Nolan's figured it out somehow. Nolan's figured it out to the point, which is like this is the what's amazing about Nolan. So I'm gonna actually use something that was one of his failures to describe how great this guy is because Tenet, right, got like
Mm,
72 maybe Rotten Tomato score when it came out. At a 72, which Marvel's begging for a 72. At a
at this point, yeah.
72, people look at a Christopher Nolan movie and go, "What the hell happened? What was wrong with it?"
True.
At a 72, and that's how great Christopher Nolan is with Tenet. And obviously Oppenheimer, I'm sorry, I think Oppenheimer is his best film today. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Like I think Oppenheimer
I
is
would
the best
honestly, I
movie
would
he's ever
agree.
made.
And
Um,
I mean, Rotten Tomatoes agrees, honestly.
there's now I'll say there's probably a difference between best film and my favorite to watch, but Oppenheimer is incredible, and I've watched it numerous times. By the way, it is still a
I've
very
seen it.
rewatchable film.
I've seen it. I saw it 5 times, and all 5 times were
Yeah,
in the theater. And every single time I went in and watched it, I enjoyed it even more every time. Like, that movie is one of those that I could watch over and over and over and over again because it's just such a great film.
yeah, it's
The
gonna
story,
be yeah.
the storytelling from beginning to end, phenomenal. The way that he transitioned from the black and white to color was just amazing. Like, yeah, the whole film was just incredible.
It's gonna be fascinating once we get up to Oscar time and we start to do our top 10 together because
Ooh.
I mean, we all know, I think I'm gonna be amazed if Oppenheimer doesn't end up in my top 5 because that
Oh,
movie to
same.
me is like that.
Because I'm not gonna lie to you, it's not only because it's a great film, but also because the amount of stinkers that we've had this year or in last year. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd be surprised if it didn't make my top 5 if I'm being honest.
Well, I think what it is too with Nolan is like he struck the balance between I think this is what Spielberg was great at too in his prime is struck the balance between which Spielberg's still going, but you know, he struck the balance between blockbuster and great storytelling at the same time. Like the spectacle and the story. Like he struck the perfect balance and Oppenheimer is that. Like Oppenheimer is a biographic film, you know, like it's a biography. But it's also at the same time, or it's an autobiography, I should say, but no, biography, not autobiography, right? And that autobiography is when the
Yeah, because
person
he's the one when the person who's it is about does it.
it's
Or is that no, I think that's when someone else does it,
it's
the autobiography, isn't it?
autobiographical, right? So
Yeah, that's the one.
I think so. I don't know, whatever. It's a biopic. I don't know why I didn't just say that. It's a biopic
I
at
was gonna say it's a biopic, yeah.
at its core, but it's kind of dressed up in this sort of spectacle at the same time. Like I think that he just struck the perfect balance with that and figured it out in Oppenheimer, the types of stories that he should be telling. And I think that that's why Oppenheimer's his best film to date. Like even though he's always kind of had it. I mean, the name Christopher Nolan's been drawn people to the box office for since Dark Knight. So
Right.
it's crazy to see like how far he's come, and the fact that he could still make that billion if he wants, and he did, and
And he
that's
yeah, and he did that and more.
That's insane to me, and I'm so glad. Like, and the other thing that Nolan's doing really well is something similar to like what Cameron's doing, where he's making these experiential events, like real events, and that's what we lost in Hollywood, which is why I'm so excited for like Marvel's sort of, I won't say hiatus, but slowdown, because these things are going to become events again. You know what I mean? Like they're going to become events again,
Right.
which is just what we've lost. I feel like in this past year or so. We've lost the events of movies. And speaking of event films, I want to introduce a new segment to the show. And this is how Jose and I are going to close out every single show from now on. And I am so excited to introduce it to you guys here. I had a graphic for this. I forgot to upload it today, and I will have it the next show. But I do have a graphic for this. And this segment is going to be called Sup With Star Wars. And I am so excited to get Jose into this with me, because this is something that we've been needing for a while. It's just a home for Star Wars that we can stay consistent on. So I said, why not just integrate it into the show that we do anyway, Movie Mornings? And that's the segment here. And I'm very excited to talk about this. And again, as I said, speaking of event films, I mean, let's talk about this story here. Variety, this comes from Variety. Star Wars announces new movie called The Mandalorian and Grogu. We'll talk about that title in a second. From director,
Is that actually the title for
that's
it?
the working title. So from director
Oh,
John
working
Favreau.
title.
Well,
Okay.
we'll see. Let's read this. Baby Yoda, his name's Grogu, is headed to the big screen. John Favreau is directing a new Star Wars
Ooh.
movie titled The Mandalorian and Grogu. So that's the title right there from Variety. You heard it. It will go
Oh
into
my, that's the
production
name of the
later this.
movie. Okay.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a second. It will go into production later this year. Favreau created the Disney Plus series The Mandalorian, which follows a helmet-wearing bounty hunter played by the great Pedro Pascal.
The
I
great.
added, I added the great, who starts the
That's
show
good. It's good you did.
on the run to protect a young, adorable alien named Grogu, better known by fans as Baby Yoda, which, again, it's not Baby Yoda, but we'll talk about that.
It's Grogu.
It's
Yeah.
Grogu. It is unclear where the upcoming film will fit into the timeline of the live action series. I don't think it's that unclear. We'll talk about that too. Which
Yeah,
has
I was about to
aired
say.
3 seasons and is currently in development on the fourth. I have
Oh, they're gonna
loved
do a
telling
fourth season for
stories
that.
well, we'll see. So I'll talk about that in a second. I think that Variety got some things wrong here, but we'll talk about it. I have loved telling stories set in the rich world that George Lucas created. Favreau said in a statement, the prospect of bringing the Mandalorian and his apprentice Grogu to the big screen is extremely exciting. The Mandalorian and Grogu is the first Star Wars movie in the works with momentum anyway. I agree with this. Since 2019's Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, which grossed $1 billion globally and served as the grand conclusion to the 9-chapter saga. New installments in the space opera series from director Patty Jenkins and Marvel producer Kevin Feige just spun out of existence. No, were announced but never came to fruition. No, that's basically spun out of existence. In the time since Star Wars has launched 2 more live-action TV shows in the Mandoverse, The Book of Boba Fett and Ahsoka, plus the upcoming
Trash.
Skeleton
Good.
Crew. We'll talk about that in a second. Well, Skeleton Crew. What's the upcoming Skeleton Crew? Favreau will produce The Mandalorian and Grogu with Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kennedy and Ahsoka creator Dave Filoni as he offers guidance on
Yay.
the upcoming film. Filoni will also work on second season of Ahsoka starring Rosario
Ooh.
Dawson. So we got a little
That's.
sneak
I can't
in
wait for
there,
that.
which we're going to talk about here in a second. Yes, 100%.
We
Okay.
have a lot to talk about.
There's a lot to unpack from this. So, part A, I'm just going to get the elephant out of the room. I'm very excited about this, though. Like, regardless
Oh,
of
dude.
yeah, I'm excited.
I mean, title aside, I am 100% excited for this film. I've been waiting for this. I think it's gonna be an amazing film. I can't wait.
Yeah, and okay, so first of all, the best thing here is that John Favreau is directing a movie. It's not like when he does The Mandalorian and he gets other creators to play in his sandbox. He's at the helm of this whole thing, so he gets to
It's
see it
him.
start
Yep.
and finish. And we know that this is a passion project of his. So I'll push back on some parts of the article. So A, from what I understand, this is replacing season 4 of The Mandalorian. This is season 4
So this is
condensed
gonna
down to
take.
a movie. Yeah.
So it's gonna take place right after season 3. Okay.
Right. So yeah, 100%, or after Ahsoka, maybe. I don't know. You know what I mean? But like, we could kind of figure it's going to take place between probably Ahsoka and Filoni's movie, or actually now season 2 of Ahsoka. So season 1 and 2 of Ahsoka, right between. I would say this is where this is going to take place, if I had to guess. That would make the most sense to me. So I definitely enjoy this idea. Season 3, aside of Mandalorian, which I just think one of the issues with that, let's be honest, and like we said a long time ago, we want to avoid the negativity of Star Wars because it's just going to make us miserable, and I abide by that. I have avoided the negativity of Star Wars. However, as I've
Same.
said, we critique things as they come, and with season 3 in particular, we had a lot of critiques about it, I think both of us, if I'm not mistaken. So I think the biggest issue with that is it was running out of steam and we could feel it, you know. So I think condensing season 4 down to a movie just makes the most sense. I think that
Oh yeah.
I'll tell you right now, speaking of the box office, this thing ain't going to cost $200 million to make. They're going to cut this budget
Oh no.
down. This is going to be a simple story, and this is
Because
going to be, yeah,
they've already got everything that they have 3 seasons to work with in terms of just bringing from
yeah,
season 1, 2, and 3 over to this movie. So
yeah,
yeah, they're definitely gonna be able to condense this box office down quite a bit. It's not gonna be any of these high budgeted Star Wars films we normally get,
yeah,
which is good. Honestly, and I totally agree with you. I think that turning season 4 into a movie just is going to work better because as we've seen with season 3 again, don't like to be negative for stars, but as we saw with season 3, there's a lot of
yeah,
downsides to that season. So I definitely think that making season 4 a movie is going to work better. Because if
yeah,
we just got another season, I feel like the same thing's gonna happen with season 4 as happened with season 3.
and
So
yeah,
yeah, making the movie is definitely gonna work better.
and seeing it as how this is going to go into production, let's see here, as soon as fucking possible. I think that it's pretty safe to say that they've known about this for a while, that this is the plan,
Yep.
because you look at season 3, what I tell you, it felt like a series finale. I think this is the end of the Mandalorian. I don't think like that means that Mando's going to die or anything. I just mean I think this is the end of that story, and we'll see Mandalorian pop up in other things and all that.
In other projects, yeah.
But I think that this is truly the end. I think this is the last. I mean, from what I hear, Pedro is doing it, so I think this is the last time Pedro will play the character. I think that this will be or at least for something that he's central in. You know what I mean? So I
I was
think,
gonna say he'll have cameos here and there in other like projects and stuff, but
yeah, 100%.
this is definitely his last central role as the Mandalorian.
And I think again, I do like to avoid the negativity of things, but like I think something that we talked about early on last year was the fact that the word of Kennedy's got to get a movie out by 25, otherwise job's gone, right? That was something that we'd heard. I say this does come out Christmas of 2025, especially if we're looking to make a very simplified film, something that's not going to be $200 million, but also just
But
has a great
still
story to it.
cinematically beautiful and
Right.
great story, yeah.
And I think we could do that and have this out by Christmas of
100%.
2025. And
Especially since he's gonna kind of like get advice and stuff from Dave Filoni as well. I feel like
yeah,
that we're definitely gonna get something incredible
yeah.
here.
And we talked about like a long time ago about them keeping these movie announcements down to a minimal. I'm okay with this because this is not
I'm
a
okay with this. I'm okay with this being the only movie we get in 2020 or like for a nice bit of
well,
time.
yeah, A,
Honestly,
it's probably going to be the only thing in 2025, and then B, as far as movies go, and then part B to that is the fact that this is also not technically a new announcement. This is them taking season 4 and turning it into a movie. So this is something they already were going to do anyway. So this is just a great
when
idea.
it was already wasn't it already announced that was it announced that he was gonna do a movie or no?
I'm sorry, who?
This is you said this is Favreau directing.
Well, Favreau's directing this Mando movie. Yeah.
Was it? It was. Oh, it wasn't announced that he was gonna direct it,
No,
or
that
was
wasn't
it?
that celebration, but
Okay.
Mandalorian season
Okay.
4 would have been a thing anyway, is my point. So it's
True.
technically something that was already coming, just being condensed. So I think that works. Condensed into something hopefully cinematically beautiful, as you said, and something cheap that can actually make a profit, and I think that this is the right way to go. Excuse me, to start small, build small, almost like how Favreau did with Iron Man for the MCU. That budget was smaller than everything we get now, yet it made a profit. It was a much more character-driven story. I think that he can do the same thing here and have lightning strike twice. But I think at the same time,
I was gonna say he's done it once already. He can do
yeah,
it again.
I think at the same time, this is going to be a great buffer for the Ray film, because what I'm thinking is going to happen is we're going to get this first, would be my guess. Then we're going to get Ray in 2026. This is my guess. And I think 2026, probably summer of 2026, will be Ray. I think Christmas 2026, Filoni, that whatever Filoni movie.
Okay.
Actually, I'm going to push back a little bit. I think the plans probably changed because there was the nugget at the end of this article, which was what? Ahsoka season 2. So let's kind of reconstruct with that new information, which, by the way, is awesome. I am a huge fan of the
Oh,
Ahsoka
dude,
season 1. I thought it was
I
great.
can't wait for season 2. It's gonna be
Yeah,
crazy.
100%. I think that they're going to. I think that things have kind of been pushed not only because A, the writer's strike, B, they got to recast Ray Stevenson. So you got that going. So I think because
Rest in
things have
peace.
been kind of been pushed, yeah, rest in peace, obviously. He gave a phenomenal performance in that first season. So I think with all that being considered, I think what we're actually looking at is, I
We'll probably
think,
get a 2027 Filoni film.
yes, that's where I was going. I think we're going to get Ray in the summer of 26. I think this movie in December of 25, summer of 26 is going to be Ray. I think
Ray.
Ahsoka season 2 Christmas time, then Filoni in 27. The big Filoni, where everything, his big Avengers Endgame movie with all the characters is in
His big
27,
Star Wars Avengers Endgame
which
movie.
Ahsoka season 2 will set up. I think is obviously where we're going.
Yeah, it'll set up. It's gonna be like a Thrawn's gonna be like the Thanos, and then he's gonna have like all of his Star Wars heroes just battle Thrawn,
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly what I want. The big
which I
Thrawn
am
film.
here for.
Yes, which
Yeah,
is rumored to be titled Heir
honestly,
to the Empire. We'll see what happens. So I'm very
like
excited
the
about
book,
this. Like the
like the book
like
written
the
by
book,
Timothy Zahn.
like the Legends book.
Oof.
And I also think the other thing that we're going to be looking at is 28 for James Mangold's Dawn of the Jedi film. And then I think after that, we deal with the Lando movie. We deal with the Taika Waititi movie, figure out what's going on there. I think that's a good plan to go. And the Ryan
Has
Johnson
the
movie that still
has
hasn't been
the
canceled. We'll figure
oh
that out too, I guess.
oh so what was it? That X-wing one got canceled,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, Rogue Squadron is delayed
Right.
indefinitely. I think it's safe to say it's done. And I also think the same
Man,
for
that's one thing I was
Feige.
looking forward to, man.
Hey, who knows? That's going to be years from now. I think if Star Wars is in a good enough place, we could say, you know what, Patty, yeah, give it a shot. Let's see what happens. You know what I mean? If Star Wars gets to that good enough place,
We
if Patty Jenkins isn't busy, why not let her do it? She wanted to do it. We just got to hope she doesn't pull a Zack Snyder and readapt that script into something else, because that
was it?
that
Isn't
would
there?
not be good.
Wasn't it rumored that she's gonna do Wonder Woman 3?
She's not though. That's been canceled. So
Okay.
that's down the drain.
Okay,
So
good. Good,
uh,
because I don't think I would have liked that because 2 was. Oh,
well, she did one. One was incredible.
did she do 2 though?
She did 1 and 2.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say 2 was. I mean, 1 was incredible, but 2 was. Oh
But she
God.
did 1 is my point. And her filmography is
I
great
know she had one. She
overall.
had one good and one bad,
Yeah.
but you know.
Yeah. I'm sure 3 would have been fine. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But the thing that I was gonna go with here, though, as far as on the Star Wars track, is like we still have exciting things to look forward to this year, which I wanted to talk about
Acolyte,
with you. Oh, let's start. Yeah, Acolyte. You got Tales of the Jedi season 2,
Skeleton
Bad
Crew.
Batch season 3, and Skeleton Crew. I don't know. Neither of us really know yet when these are coming. I mean, I'm gonna say I think Bad Batch hits first because that's usually how it goes, right?
That'd make sense.
Yeah,
And I'm ready for that Bad Patch season 3 because I'm ready to see what happens.
I think Bad Batch is going to hit first this year. I'm ready for season 3. I actually said, like, I think of the finales of last year's TV shows. If we're just talking finale alone, Bad Batch season 2 did the best job in the finale because that
Oh yeah,
got me
for
so much
sure.
more hyped for season 3 than I ever thought I would be. So that's going to be awesome. Acolyte is the one we've been looking forward to most, I think. I speak for both
Oh,
of us on that.
100%.
That
Yep,
is finally a dark
for
side
sure.
central story. I'm very much
I've been
looking
waiting
forward
for
to
one of
this.
those.
Yeah. And The other thing that's going to be great is Tales season 2. I think Tales
Mm-hmm.
season 2 is going to be very cool. Now, I heard a rumor. I do want to get your take on what you think some of the stories in Tales of the Jedi season 2 could be. So, one of the
Mm.
rumors that I've been hearing is that they might actually show the turn of Kylo Ren, which I think would be just great to do the same way they
Yes,
did for
100%.
Dooku in the first season. I do think that would be much needed.
I liked how they, because what I liked, they showed that in the, was it the Lego holiday shorts or whatever that was? They
Yeah,
showed
yeah,
like a
yeah. They
little
showed a
kind
little
of
bit
funny
of that.
rendition
Yeah,
of like how he turned.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we had we did have a comic as well. So I don't want to like throw that under the rug. I would like to see like a loose adaptation of that comic as well. Sort of the same way they did for the Ahsoka novel. They did an episode that was taken almost right out of that novel for Tales season 1. So I think that doing a Kylo Ren adaptation of the comics called The Rise of Kylo Ren, I think doing an adaptation of that for an episode of Tales
Yo,
would be
that
really
could
cool.
that could be the name of the episode, and I would already be in. Like
Yeah, yeah.
that'd be a sick name for the episode.
I would
The Rise of
also
Kylo Ren. That's
love an episode. I think I heard this rumored as well of Sabine and Ahsoka training. Doing seeing a little
mm,
bit of that we never got to see. I also think it would give
hmm
Ashley Eckstein and Tia Sakar a good chance to come back and voice
hmm You're the
Ahsoka and
iconic
Sabine.
Ahsoka voice.
Yeah, and Sabine as well. I mean, as much as I
Yep.
thought Natasha Liu Bordizzo knocked that role out of the park, she really
Oh,
did. One of amazing stuff.
100.
And yeah, I can't wait to see um what happens there. So hopefully that is going to be kind of what we get. I mean, was there any more that you think that we can get out of Tales season 2?
Mm. Trying to think about like what else we could possibly get. There's not really anything else that comes to mind straight away. Especially if they're gonna go like with kind of like the newer stuff that we've, like the newer shows and movies that we've
Yeah.
had. I don't know what they could possibly go for that
Yeah.
we haven't seen already. Excuse me. It's a complicated one right there.
Yeah, I mean, I
I'd
love
be
that the
honestly,
possibilities are
I'd be
endless though.
interested to see. I'd love to see what they, what they bring for the episodes, and also how many episodes, if they're gonna do the same as last season, or if they're gonna do more or less.
Right. And like I think it is going to be the same amount if I'm not mistaken, but I think another thing that we could do, I mean, go back to the High Republic or even Old Republic. Man, I would love to see a Darth
Mm.
Bane story so much. Even though he wasn't a
Oh,
Jedi,
please,
something revolving around Darth Bane and another Jedi would be super dope. I mean,
bro!
knowing that
Darth
Bane was
Plagueis the Wise, give me that.
well, I do want to talk about Plagueis, so I'm glad you brought that up. We're going to use that as a segue because I heard a rumor, and you tell me how much sense this makes because it does to me. So we got
Yeah.
this Ray movie coming. We talked about we're speculating 26 for Ray.
26, right?
So you tell me what you think. I mean, we need a villain. We don't know
Right.
what is the only thing that like outranks Palpatine at this point. It's Plagueis.
Plagueis the Wise. Yeah.
I heard a rumor that it's going to be Plagueis. I don't know how true this is. Like I said, rumor, grain of salt. I gotta say, the more I think about it, the more sense it makes, though. Because
But surely he isn't alive during that time. Would it be his Force Ghost?
he's the only one
'Cause
that.
isn't this movie? Because isn't this movie set like years after Rise of Skywalker?
Yeah, but Plagueis knew how
Like
to
what,
cheat death,
34, like
man.
30 years, like
Plagueis knew
30
how to
years
cheat death.
after.
Everybody thought Snoke was Plagueis. I don't see the difference. So who's
People also
this?
thought that Snoke was Jar Jar Binks.
Well, yeah, but yeah, but think about Plagueis though. Plagueis makes the
Also,
most sense.
but didn't in the canon didn't Sidious kill him,
No, not.
or at least in the comics he did,
He thinks he did.
supposedly. Fair.
I
He
mean,
probably actually did survive.
didn't Sidious get thrown down a shaft and we got him back?
True.
So this is where I'm at. I'm just like, what does
No,
outrank?
that actually, you know what? That would be so sick to finally see Darth Plagueis the Wise on screen, because we've never seen it.
I think I was thinking Acolyte, but I think Ray makes the most sense considering you need a baddie. You
Yeah,
need a baddie that
I
makes
don't think
sense.
I don't think it'll be Plagueis the Wise for Acolyte.
Yeah.
It just doesn't really make that much sense. But yeah,
Well, it
let me
does
like.
because it's dark side centered, but I
True.
also
But
think that Plagueis
I
is
feel like
more
they'd
Old
probably want to.
Republic, not High
I
Republic.
was gonna say
Yeah.
they'd probably want to save him for something bigger as well, like
Yeah.
Ray's movie.
Well,
Because then, yeah, you think who's like the only other person, like you said, more powerful than Sidious, and that's Plagueis, and that just makes perfect sense for the big bad for Ray and her movie.
Plagueis can cheat death, so fans will accept it. I'll tell you right now. Also, you need something to get people very excited about Ray's movie. You do. You have to throw something in. If it's Plagueis, even if they play it as a twist at the end of the movie or something, everybody's gonna go see this movie. Not everybody, but tons of hardcore fans are gonna get
Bro,
stoked and
trust
go
me,
see it.
I will be front row. I'll be there like instantly.
I'll be there instantly anyway. But if it's
Yeah,
Plagueis,
true.
I'll
True.
probably go more than once.
Oh, dude, I'll go and watch it like 3 or 4 times in the
Right.
theaters. I'm telling you right now.
But honestly, like to me, like you need something that A gets people stoked, gets people excited about this Ray project. You B also need to I think you need something that really ties it all the way back around to the beginning. And I think Plagueis is the way to go, man.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
You
No,
need that thread that the sequels were sort of missing to me.
it makes the
Yeah.
most sense, honestly.
You really need the thread that the sequels were missing, which is again, I think as a whole overall story, I enjoy the sequels as its own story, but I just think that they're missing this thread that pulls it full circle. And I think if you're gonna do a Ray movie, give it that purpose, man. Give it that purpose that really makes it work for people. Because I can't quantify. I'm not the writer, but I can't quantify another good reason to do a Ray movie. As far as like other than seeing the character again, who I like very much. But like, as far as when you think about where she ended, you got to do something high stakes, very big, something that is carried forward from the other films. And to me, I know people. I heard some people already against it. They're going to be, and again, let's not talk about the negative part, but Plagueis makes sense. I'm telling you right now. I do think that they'll
How about
go
this?
back to
How
that
about
well.
this? An idea just popped in my head about what could happen, like loosely based around like Rey starts training these kids at the end of Rise of Skywalker that have the Force, right? She kind of like starts her own Jedi Academy,
Okay, which
and then
she's doing. She is starting an academy.
right,
Yeah,
right.
but go ahead. Yeah.
Plagueis like comes and just wipes all those kids, and then like Rey has like her revenge
Boom.
story
Boom.
with Plagueis.
Yeah.
Hey Disney, if you're watching,
Yeah.
just know that I was the one that said it.
Yeah. Dude,
Copyright that.
imagine that. No, that's a great concept. And
I'm
like
telling you, bro. I've dabbled in writing, screenwriting, so I kind of have like ideas that flow through my head,
yeah.
and that's just one that came like pretty instantly to the top of my head when you said Plagueis.
Yeah. You need to come up with something or they need
I
to
feel
come
like
up with
that would
something that
be.
makes
I feel like
sense.
I feel like that would be cool.
I'd agree.
That could be that's something they could use right there because that'd be a really cool way to set up like a Rey Plagueis like revenge interaction.
I agree with you. And I think a concept like that would just have that darkness that we've all, I think, been craving from these movies. There's this darkness that it's just they've kept trying to hit that they haven't quite gotten there yet. And I think uh, I mean, even though it's not a Sith story, with the exception of Andor, I don't think any of these things have hit the dark levels that I've wanted these projects
Oh,
to go to.
definitely not. And I
And
feel like, that's why I'm excited for Acolyte because I know we for sure will get it there.
yeah, I think we will. I think Acolyte's going to deliver on the dark promise of it. I'm very
And then
excited
honestly, we
about
could
that.
just keep getting more dark projects from there. I'm here for it, honestly. And I feel like the Ray movie is a good opportunity to do that, honestly.
Yeah, yeah. But we'll be idiots and we'll get a bunch of dark things, and then we're gonna be like, I want Star Wars to be hopeful again, and
I'm
it's
not too
full
sure about
circle.
that. I'm not too
It's
sure about that one, bro. Because like you don't understand inside how much I've been just craving a bunch of Sith based stuff because of all this just hopeful good guy get wins all the time
oh,
stuff
I've
that
been craving it
we've
too.
been
I'm not
getting.
saying me, but I know people will.
Yeah,
I know
but
the
they're just
fans will
people.
go back full circle and be like, Star Wars needs to be
Yeah,
hopeful again, and
if they wanted, they could just go back and watch the other hopeful crap that's already been released. I sorry, not crap. The other hopeful stuff that has been released already.
they can watch and read all the dark stuff that's already been released too if they want to. I mean, Revenge of the Sith, it's a pretty dark movie.
There
You
you
could
go.
go watch it.
Oh, psh,
but yet we still crave this stuff. So yeah, just make
Yeah, but like
it.
I just want more dark stuff,
Oh,
like
I get you. No,
more dark centered stuff.
I
So
I think it's a magical thing what that scene did in Revenge of the Sith when he spoke of the tale of Darth Plagueis the Wise. I think that scene has always kind of lingered in fans' minds, and I think that
hmm
that's what we're looking for. We're like, which is why Acolyte is so exciting, as you already mentioned. But I think we are all looking for that story to really take us down that path and get us to a
hmm
point of just absolute dark side chaos,
darkness. We're
reddish,
gonna feel
orangish lightsabers, like when you look at
lava,
Vader's on the original poster. Lava,
lava everywhere.
lava everywhere. Freaking, what's awesome?
We,
Speaking of lava, if you ever played the 2015 Battlefront, the fact that they redid,
of course,
oh no, but gosh, what's the Solace? They did the
yeah.
planet Solace in that game, and
hmm
nobody had ever seen that, and I love that they just made that like a lava planet, man. Those are the types of planets I like to see, or even that one that was in the finale, I should say that section of Navarro that's in the finale of Mandalorian just looks so neat,
Ooh,
man.
yeah.
And like,
So sick.
oh man, I'm so excited about the Mando movie, man. I can't wait to get back to the
Oh, dude.
Western and just dude, the music will get me pumped. Oh, I hope Ludwig scores it, by the way, because he didn't do season 3. I mean, his intro was in there, but it was
Yeah, you see,
Joseph Shirley,
that's
right?
another
Did
thing.
season 3.
That's another thing. That's another thing I was missing right there is
Yeah,
Ludwig's score.
yeah, definitely
Because
sorely missing.
because I'll say this, Book of Boba Fett might have not been an incredible show, but I'll tell you this, his score was insane.
He didn't do the score for Boba. He did the intro. Same,
Oh,
yeah. So for Boba, and it was the same guy who did Boba in Mandalorian season 3. Even though Ludwig came up with the intro for Boba, he's been kind of.
oh, well, his intros are crazy.
Oh yeah, no, I love the intro for Boba Fett. 100%. Yeah. Whoever did the one for Bad Batch, man. The Bad Batch one gets stuck in my head too. It wasn't Ludwig, but whoever did that, man.
Oh yeah, whoever did the
That was
intro for
great. That
Bad
was a
Batch
great
is
one. So there is one last Star Wars thing that I want to bring up to you, and I think that it's just incredibly exciting and is going to make you feel old even. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But I don't know if you realize this, Jose, but this year is going to mark the 25th anniversary of The Phantom Menace coming up this May.
whoa,
It's 25 years old, and
whoa,
you know
yay.
what? We're gonna watch it and do a discussion. It's the year. It's 25 years. It's earned its place.
We need to watch it on the day it turns 25.
Well, look at how sad it is that I have a Phantom Menace poster behind me, just so I could bring. No, I'm kidding, but it is behind me, and I am gonna change that to the original one. I just need to reorganize them. Anyway, but that is gonna be just the Star Wars poster back there. It's gonna pop a little bit more too because that Phantom Menace poster is just so dark. Look, man, I mean, we
May
can.
19th. Okay, May
Well,
19th is when it turns 25.
May 19th is when we'll have a discussion out on the Phantom Menace, a review, a rewatch, whatever you want to call it, and I'm
20,
excited to
20,
do that.
25th year.
It's gonna be a good year, man. The only thing I want to ask is like, looking back at Phantom Menace, how does that, hit you at this point, knowing that we're coming up to 25 years? What
I
does the
mean,
legacy of Phantom Menace mean to
I
you?
can look. I'll say that for the legacy of Star Wars, it's amazing. The fact that it's been
Yeah,
25 years since that movie's been out.
it has its fans, man.
Um,
It has its fans.
as a movie in general, he's got many midichlorians. This kid does, bro. Chacho.
I
I
mean,
don't know, man.
I'll tell you, 25
I'll tell you
years
this.
ago,
I'll tell
yeah,
you this. The pod racing and the fight between Obi, Qui-Gon, and Darth Maul, best parts of the movie. Everything else I can go without, honestly.
I'll say this: 25 years ago, I was in a
I wasn't even
theater.
born with it. I wasn't even born when this movie came
You
out.
were not. I was, and I was 6 years
I was
old.
like, was it May, June, July, August?
Yeah.
So this movie came out 6 months before I was born.
Wow. I was 6 years old, and this movie, I was so excited. I was a child. I have fond memories of standing in a long line with my family, waiting to see this
It's like
movie.
maybe if I was born Maybe if I was born when this movie was already out, I probably would have had a different.
I knew that when I got into that line, something was different about seeing this movie. Like there was something new. Like I'd seen Star Wars at home on VHS tapes, all right? Like I'd seen the original
Yeah, because there was
trilogy.
already. I was gonna say there was already 3 other movies out by the time
Right.
this one came out.
Right. But Phantom Menace was new for me. Like when I went to I've been to the movie theater before this, and I knew going into that, standing in that line, something was different. And I was greeted to a movie that made me a little bit bored as a child. That's okay. The pod racing was exciting, as you said. The lightsaber fights were exciting. That stuff really caught my eye. I remember this movie being particularly loud, like compared to other movies too. That was another thing that really struck me when I saw Phantom Menace. And just, I do remember, even as a child, something was visually different about it. Because at the time, man, those effects blew you away. I will say that
I'll tell you this right
at the
now.
time.
When I first watched the original 6 movies on VHS, I instantly fell in love with all 6 of the movies.
Yeah.
Um, but I obviously that was when I was a kid. As I got older and rewatched the movies again and again, some of them just were like, "Oh my gosh, what? How did I like this when I was a kid?"
Despite my
um,
boredom in Phantom Menace, I was still that kid though that was like, I need to own this on VHS. Like,
I had I had all 6 on VHS, and I have all 6 on DVD, and they all have like bonus content on them too, which is
oh, those bonus
really
features are Phantom Menace actually. The Phantom has bonus features better than
the
the
bonus
movie.
features for honestly the bonus features for all the movies are incredible,
Watching
and
George
I'm pretty
Lucas work out his brainchild is incredible. Like it's unreal.
and I think they all have also like documentaries on them. I think the DVD collection I have, I think all 6 have documentaries
Yeah. No,
of
they do.
like George Lucas working on it with everyone else and stuff. They're pretty cool.
100%. Yeah. No, they do. They all have incredible behind the scenes footage of, and that you could just absorb so much about the filmmaking process from. Like it's incredible. Like I
Hmm.
love that I can pop on the bonus features for Phantom Menace and just see the phone call that they make to Ewan McGregor to offer him the role to Obi-Wan. Like I think that's just so cool that we have that moment on film. Like incredible. Like them in the negotiation process trying to get him, watching Ewan try to pick out his lightsaber. Like that's incredible, man. Like that stuff that lives rent free in my brain. Those moments, man, they really do.
Yeah,
Also, George
for
just
sure.
laughing his ass off at Jar Jar Binks lives rent free in my brain. 100% great.
He has a
No,
unique laugh. I'll tell you that right
he
now.
has a unique personality.
That too.
But when I was 6 years old, man, I would sit there and let those VHS special editions play because that was the set I finally was able to own. And they had the bonus features, and George Lucas would talk me to sleep. And I think he was just like putting so much film making knowledge in my mind, laughing his ass off somewhere, knowing he was doing it too. Because, man, I swear that is the reason I have such an interest in film. I owe that to George.
Oh no, same. Honestly, I owe like all my love for filmmaking and like everything that everything in the film industry to George and John Williams and all those people that worked on Star Wars.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. And the Three Stooges, 100%.
Oh
And
my
I tell
god.
you, I did grow up on Three Stooges, man. We
Oh,
can
same.
we can talk
Same.
that.
Love
Uh,
love Three Stooges.
yeah, those guys are great. Anyway, those guys were great. Like they're like some type of legend now. They are legends, but you know what I mean. Like I don't know, whatever. That just sounded weird saying it that way. I should have said like they're just some guys. Like that's the way I said it. They're not.
They're just
They
some
are like
guys.
legendary comedic talent. Like that is the Three
Facts.
Stooges right there
Facts they are.
for sure. Well, man, look, we did it again. This was fun. It is unfortunately time to wrap up, I think, but this is exciting that we got to do this again. We'll talk a little bit more off air probably about future shows and things coming up. I would like to. I don't want to guarantee this to the audience. I would like to come back around to an Echo spoiler review if you get the time to finish it out. I would definitely
I'm
like to talk
finishing it as soon
spoilers.
as we get off the call. I'm finishing it.
All
I'm
right,
telling you right now.
we'll plan a spoiler review. because I
I'm
would like to
down.
talk spoilers about it for sure.
Oh, I'm down as well. I'm telling you, as soon as we get off this call, I'm finishing the whole thing.
100%. Well, I hope you guys enjoy the new format. 100%. I hope that you guys let us know in the comments below what you think of the new format. I had a lot of fun today. I'll be honest with you. This to me felt the most comfortable it's been in a bit. So I'm very excited about this. I think the more we get into the Star Wars part of it, like the more I want to start talking about more things like books that are coming out and comics that are coming out and things like that. I think I want to prep a little bit better to integrate those types of things as well. So I think that'll be a very cool thing moving forward for that. And I'll have the graphic next time for Sup With Star Wars because that is a segment I am so stoked about. Jose loves that name. He must love it. I hear him laugh every time I say Sup With Star Wars. I think it works, man. I love it. I think it's catchy.
No, it's good.
I think it's gonna
It
catch
is
on.
catchy.
You make fun of it. I think it's gonna
It
catch on.
will.
Yeah, it
No,
will.
no, it'll catch on for sure.
All right. All right, guys. Look, this has been fun. Jose, it's been great to see you, man, and talk with you again.
Oh man, it really has. I'm glad that we're back to filming these again. I've missed it. Honestly, it's been too long. And I'm just glad to just pour out some more content for you guys that you guys can enjoy. Talk to Dom about some more film stuff,
Yeah,
whether
for
it be
sure.
Star Wars, Marvel, any other company that releases some really cool movies that we most likely will talk about. I'm just really excited to be back and back here in front of this camera talking to you guys and you, Dom. Like you
Same.
said, honestly, this is probably the most fun I've had talking with you, and for sure the most comfortable. I feel like
Yeah.
now that I'm getting more, I've doing more films and filming some more stuff. I'm getting a lot more confident in talking and being in front of a camera and stuff. So I feel like
Sweet.
this is definitely the most comfortable. And obviously now with this new mic, I sound a lot better now too. So I feel like I'm wanting to talk obviously a lot more confident because I sound so much better now,
And
audio wise.
I also think like we're seasoned now a little bit. You know, we've been doing this a while. We've built a
I mean,
rapport.
I started this what like 2020, like it's been 4 years since it's been
Yeah.
I've been doing this for 4 years with you now. So yeah, definitely we're
We're getting
veterans
there.
at this now. So
We're
we're a lot
veteran,
more
yeah.
comfortable now.
For
Yeah.
sure. 100%. I'm excited about it. But yeah, before we go, it's not up at the corner anymore. We only have the Extract Media social medias, but I do want to, let people know where they can find you.
Yeah. You guys can find me at Jose Espinel 5. That's all together, all lowercase, on all socials and on YouTube. You guys can go subscribe if you haven't already. I post a lot of out of theater reactions of movies that I see, also trailer thoughts and just news thoughts and just a bunch of other like movie content. I'd also do projects on there, like personal projects of mine, whether it be school projects or just like scores that I might come up with myself. I do a lot of that on there, so make sure you guys go check that out.
I just realized I made these graphics so long ago, we had to change the blue bird to an X. But you could find me on X at Dom underscore Martino underscore and on Instagram, Dom underscore Martino underscore official. I want to thank everybody for joining here for this episode of Movie Mornings. Again, I hope you guys really enjoyed the new format. Before we go, please hit the like button below, subscribe to the channel, leave some feedback in the comment section, share this with your friends, and hit the bell for notifications. That's always much appreciated. Without further ado, I am Dom Martino. That's been Mr. Jose Espinel, and we will talk to you guys later.
See ya.